Good evening, everybody. My name is Derrick McCormick. I'm the Managing Director of Sundial Solutions. We are a specialist renewable energy company, and we install photovoltaics, heat pumps, mechanical ventilation, and solar thermal. Now, we were asked to install, or would we like to participate in the demonstration house here? And we have installed a 1 kilowatt PV system on the demonstration house. Now, this is purely so that anyone can come to the demonstration house, and purely by using a bit of maths, you can see how much you can actually generate, just multiples of 1 kilowatt. The pitch and the orientation of this installation is roughly 35 degrees, and it's pointing at 240 degrees. Now, 180 degrees is the optimum. 240, you're going to be losing about 4%. The expected generation, which is based on the standard assessment procedure, which is what every company should use to give you an estimate of the generation, is 798 kilowatt hours in every year. Now, at the moment, this system has generated just over 600 kilowatt hours, and it was commissioned in April. So it looks like we are actually going to exceed this predicted generation. As far as generated income, we should, by the end of the year, have generated £346, and that's for a 1 kilowatt system. And if you just multiply that up, you should have a pretty good idea of what you could install on your system. You're also going to get the export income, which we were talking about earlier, of an extra £12. And that's assuming that you're actually going to be exporting 50% of the generation. And your free energy, again, we always estimate that you're going to be using 50% of what you've generated. So we can say that, assuming it's 14 pence per unit, an extra £56, giving a total of £414. Due to the interest that the demonstration house has actually generated, we're going to be setting up an office in Bicester. Now, currently, we're based in Devon. Can I go back on here? Yeah. Is it right? Keep going back. That's our offices at the moment. We're based in Oakhampton, in the middle of Devon. As you can see, we're doing our bit as well. So we're going to be setting up, we're currently looking for premises, and we should be up and running in a couple of weeks. One of the installations we've already completed in Bicester is on the John Paul II Community Centre. It's a 17 kilowatt system. And one of the stipulations that we had for that is that it couldn't be seen from the road. A little bit of engineering required as you go through, just to work out how we can actually get the panels low down so that it can't be seen. A lot of help from Ardent, who did the roofing. And as you can see from the actual road, you can't see it. You can if you stand on a box, you can just see the top of them. So it didn't quite work out. That installation took 3 days to actually install. Part of our duty of care is that we have to try and do as much fabrication within our workshop so that the guys that are actually installing, they're not in danger. They're on the roof for the least amount of time. It actually comprised 480 different bits of aluminium, and there was 1,700 drills holed in the workshop. So. And being as my office is actually above the workshop, I had to wear earplugs while they were doing it. Right, the installation process. First, when you contact an installer, they'll want to do a site survey. Now, you can do it from the internet, there are some really good and accurate programs that you can use to give you a very good idea of how much you can actually get on your roof. But we'd always insist that we actually do a site survey. During that site survey, we'll check the available area. We'll measure the pitch of the roof so that we can actually give you an accurate prediction. We'll note the orientation and decide on the fixing method. And there are many, many different ways of fixing. It all depends on the structure of the roof, the aesthetics. These are actually tiles which will sit into the roof, replace the existing roof tiles. And they're very good for new builds or re-roofs, and they blend in very well. While we're there, we need to make an assessment of the structural integrity of the roof, because solar panels, especially when they're bolted on top of the roof, they can act like a plane's wing. Now, the static loading of a 4 kilowatt system, which is about 16 panels, is the weight of about 4 men on your roof, spread evenly over your roof. So the actual weight isn't that much, but we get a much greater force trying to rip them off the roof by the wind. And that's where we have to take into consideration the integrity of your roof. And we as a company will tell you, no, you can't have it. So I know it's disappointing, but it's better we do that rather than your house falls down. During the site survey, we will also check your electrical connection to make sure that it's up to standard. We cannot connect unless it is up to standard. Various connections that we can make. While we're there, we will also explain how the system's going to work, what you can expect from your system, i.e. the generation, what sort of monitoring systems you can have, whether you want to have a remote monitoring, whether you want to put it up on the internet, or whether you want us to monitor the system so that if anything should go wrong, we get notified, or we can get on the phone and say, can you get the cat off the panels because they're not working properly? And that has happened. Breakdown of costs, the quotation. Once we've done the plan, we'll send the quotation through. It'll break down the costs completely down to the cost of the materials, the labour, the cost of the scaffolding, the cost of the electrical connections. Everything will be on that quotation. You'll also have the predicted generation. Now we have to use the standard assessment procedure to give you an assessment of how much you can actually generate. That's an average for the whole country. Now in Bicester, you're going to get somewhere like 5% more than the actual standard assessment procedure. The predicted income, that's linked very closely to how much we predict your actual generation is going to be. We always say, even though we will give you a prediction of your generation, given your geographical location, you should always use the SAP figures to do your maths. Hopefully be better off at the end of the year. Payment terms. Every company has a different payment terms. We ask for £1,000 return with a contract, and then payment settlement on installation. We are allowed to ask for up to 2/3 of the total cost. We don't as a company. I don't think it's right. I think you should pay when it's installed and not before. The installation. We aim to have a scaffold erected the day before. We'll always use a full scaffold. There are some companies will use a mobile scaffold. When you're moving around a panel that's about this size, it doesn't take much of a wind before it starts acting like a sail. So we will always put a full scaffold up to erect PV installation. Length of installation, 2 days for a domestic. And as you can see, for an industrial installation, very much depends on the size. But with a flat roof or with an industrial roof, you can actually roll along quite quickly. As soon as the installation's finished, we'll arrange to get the scaffold down as soon as possible. Sometimes it's the afternoon after we finish. Other times it could be the following week. If we finish on the Friday, it'll probably be the Monday or Tuesday before it comes down. We try and have a good working relationship with scaffolding companies, because some of them, they'll take it down when they've got another job next door or they want to move it. After the installation, we register the MCS certificate. Now, it was mentioned earlier that you must use an MCS accredited installer. One of the things we do as a company is to register the installation with the MCS. That will generate the certificate, which will either be emailed to you directly or it can come to us and we'll post it off to you if you don't have an email address. Now, when you receive the certificate, you send that off to your electricity supplier. They will also require you to fill some forms in with different bits and pieces, information about your billing. We always say, once you've decided to go ahead with the installation, that's the time to get the forms from your electricity supplier, so that when we're there, when we're on site, we can actually help you fill them out. Some of the questions can be a little bit ambiguous. They've got better, but 2 years ago when it started, even the electricity companies didn't know what the forms meant. So they've made them a little bit easier now. And then as far as the payments, the way the payments work, you will give a reading every quarter. They'll either email you or phone you up or write to you and say, send us the electricity reading. If you give them a reading that's too high, they'll ask you to take a photograph of it to prove that it is high. Some of the installations we do, they're generating that much that it's far exceeding expectations. So the electricity companies just want to make sure that you haven't put on another 10 panels just to generate a bit more income. Cost of installation. This is a tariff or a table that I did last night. This is how much we charge. It's not, other companies may charge more, may charge less, but it's, you need to pick the companies that you want to go with. Basically, the number of kilowatts you want to install, and here I think we're talking mainly for the commercial, so we're down onto the 10 and 50 kilowatt systems. 40 or 200 panels, 10 kilowatt system, 25,000. It's going to generate just under £4,000 per annum, and that's guaranteed 25 years. And again, this is based on the standard assessment procedure, so it's going to be more than that based in Bicester. Now, you also have to remember this is for the perfect south-facing roof at 30 degrees. The one we did on the community centre was actually at 16 degrees, and it's losing about 5% because it's down that low. So even on a large industrial roof, which is generally at about 7 or 12 degrees, you're still going to be getting the majority of this. And if you go to the 50 kilowatt system, for a ground mounted system, which most of them are, it's £100,000 and you're going to be earning 14.5 per annum. For a roof mounted system of 50 kilowatts, you'll be looking more like 88, 90,000 for a roof mounted system, the cost to install. Payment methods. There really is three, well, it shows 4 there, but there really is 3 actual systems. You can purchase it completely yourself, and that way you have the highest return because you're getting the free energy, you're getting the money from the feed-in tariff, and the only disadvantage is that you have to look after the system itself. If anything goes wrong, then that's down to you. We would always recommend, if you're installing a system above 10 kilowatts, get it insured. It costs you something like 0.3% of the actual installation cost per annum. It's worth that financial outlay. Next way, you can borrow part of it. That reduces your outlay. You have to pay back that loan, of course, so that's reducing your income. But with the amount you're actually generating, you should pay it off fairly quickly. Lease finance, same sort of system. You're actually leasing the installation and you pay for it over a period of time with the feed-in tariff. And the last one is that you grant someone a lease on your roof, commonly known as the rent-a-roof scheme, and it works for commercial and domestic installations. By that, you sign your roof off for 25 years. You get the free electricity or a reduced amount, depending on how profitable the installation is, will depend on whether you actually get free electricity or whether they'll charge you a nominal fee for the kilowatts that you actually install. One of the benefits of this system is that if anything goes wrong, that's down to the investors. All you have to do is make sure that they've got access to your roof. And that's it. Thank you very much. I'll catch people later. Yeah. Yes, certainly. No, I don't. That was actually done for... The question was, what tariff did they get at the community centre? No, I don't know. That was done. We installed the system, and it was installed by an investor, as far as I'm aware, or paid for by an investor. That's also private information for a client, which I wouldn't like to divulge anyhow. No, the financial arrangements that they have, I don't know.